So today's message, we'll start with, get my power on. It's called Psalms of Ascent, Part 10, Blessings on the Journey, and it's from Psalm 128. So I want to take you on a little. I lost my slide. There we go. Here we go. Imagine that you are a fisherman on the Sea of Galilee in about 30 AD, or give or take a year. And you're just fishing. And this strange man walks up to you and says, "Lay down your nets and follow me." You know that's really how it happened? A man they didn't know walked up to them and said, "Follow me." So Peter starts his journey of ascent to serving Jesus in this dark world in unity with other travelers, Peter, James, John, Thomas, Philip, right? I mean, they start this journey together, worshiping and praising God. And Peter follows Jesus, and he had no idea where they were going. Think about this. It is possible that he thought they were heading to the armory to get swords to fight the Romans. Right? It's possible he thought they were heading to the temple where Jesus was going to stand up and say, "I'm the King of the Jews." Right? He did not know where he was going when he started the journey with Jesus Christ. Isn't that for you and I? We come to Jesus Christ, we have no idea what's coming. No idea. And he embarks on this 3-year journey, and he's learning so much. He messes up constantly. He even has the nerve at one point to tell Jesus that he can't do something. I just think about that all the time. Jesus, you can't do that. We're pieces of work. And it's a journey with tears and fears and failures and sorrows and blessings, and walking with brothers in unity and walking with brothers in I'm the greatest and you're not. But that's the journey for Peter. Yet Peter knew that the only journey worth being on, was the one with Jesus and with those who were with Jesus. Peter actually says to Jesus says to Peter, "Will you leave me?" And he says, "To whom would we go? There is no other place to go." Right? At some point on this journey, we have to say, "You're it, Jesus." You are it. No matter what else happens, you are it. So we're going to do what I've done almost every week. I've done it different every week with the Psalms of Decrees. And again, another typo, 120 to 135, not 235. But Psalms 120 to 135 describe the journey to God, service, worship, and fellowship for every one of us. In other words, if you want to know what this journey is going to be like, read these Psalms. It starts with a cry for help. "In my distress, I said, 'God, help me.' And he heard me." Psalm 120, verse 1. "And the seeker," that's us, "looks up to the hills of Jerusalem, to the temple." And here's what's happening. Jerusalem is in the mountains. It's up. The temple is up in Jerusalem. So when the journeyers and worshipers came to the church, to go to the temple, the sanctuary, the house of God, they looked up. It's like you and I think we should go to church today because I need God. You get that? I should go to church because I need God. Now, let me ask you the question, which one is God? The church or God? So at some point, it says in 121 verse 2, they look past the sanctuary and they say, "Our help comes from the Lord." But it's proper to think church to find God. But that's not God, because church will disappoint you in the end. And throughout these Psalms, there is a growing sense of trust in God. And because going to the house of the Lord is at first focused on going to where God is, yeah, there is gladness in going. Think about this. I will say that I think probably half the mornings that I know people go to church, it's like, I have to go to church. Right? How many of you would say that might be the case? Right? I have to go to church. Why is there no gladness? Because you forgot why you're going. Right? You aren't going because of the fellowship with people. You're going because you're going to God. And it says in 122 verse 3 that the house is compacted together. I love this phrase. It's in Ephesians and it's here. God's people are compacted together. That is, we're squeezed together and there's friction. Somebody smells bad. Somebody says something wrong. Somebody does this. Somebody does that. They irritate you. And there's friction. So God, in that psalm, it says, pray for the peace of that house. And we preached on this. How many people quit going to church because of friction rather than praying for peace in the house? Right? Pray for the peace. And then in 123, we realize I'm not just going to God as a helper. He's going to be my master. This is a huge point. At some point, we have to decide He's Lord and I'm not. And that happens in 123. And when that happens, when you make Him Lord, you suddenly realize that He's always been on your side. And people doubt whether God is on their side. Well, then let Him be in charge of your life and you'll figure it out, that He's on your side. Now, here's what's interesting. When you make Him Lord, you've said you're on His side. Right? So when I say I'm on His side, He says, I've always been on your side. I'm for you. When we often doubt whether God is on our side, even though He is, we often doubt it. Trusting God, Psalm 125, brings security. It says, they that trust in the Lord shall be like Mount Zion. They don't move. I've watched it. I'm 69. I have watched this with people. In my 20s, I'm just talking about myself now, I had trust issues even though I was a believer, and I was hurting, and I was unstable. I lived in 6, 7 different places. I don't know how many jobs I had. I don't know how many different churches I went to. I wasn't stable. But trusting God makes you stable. And then when we trust Him, we start experiencing God delivering me. And it's awesome. It says it's like a dream. And then we say, God, deliver me some more, because this world is a place that's full of, I need to be delivered more. I need help all the time. So we have tears on the journey. It says the psalm actually said, they that sow in tears. That's the Psalm 126, I believe. They that sow in tears shall come again with joy, bringing their sheaves with them. There's a harvest. And those tears are actually precious. They're part of the process. They water the seeds. Seeds need water to germinate. Hang on a second. And now we realize that only in Psalm 127, it says, except the Lord doesn't do the work, it doesn't get done. And we realize that I need God to work, and I need to get out of His way. I need to let Him produce. If God doesn't build, there's no harvest. No matter what you do, if you're not trusting God and letting Him do it, it's wasted. I'm old enough now where I don't like to waste things like that. And Psalm 128, where we are today, expands this idea of God doing the work and how it affects us. Now, I want to stop. You say, why do you go take 5 minutes every message to go through this? Because I'd love you to get this in your head just the way I've got it in my head. because this is the journey I'm walking on in my life. This is life as a believer. Excuse me. So, when you trust God and He builds, this is what happens. You are blessed. Isn't that, I mean, we say, God bless you. Anybody want to give me, I know it's a small group, so this won't hurt. What does it mean to bless? We say, bless you, or bless your little heart, which means very different than bless you, by the way, right? It's kind of not a blessing, right? It's not a blessing, no. So what does it mean, Dave? Lord, bless thee and keep thee, cause his face to shine upon you. Say that again, that one phrase you just said, God notices you. And it's not a bad noticing. You know. He sees you. And pours his love out on you. So let's read the psalm. You did great. That's a great definition. Let's read the psalm. Blessed is everyone that fears the Lord, that walks in his ways. For thou or you shall eat the labor of your hands. Happy shall you be, and it shall be well with thee. Thy wife shall be as a fruitful vine by the sides of thine house, thy children like olive plants round about thy table. Behold, that thus shall the man be blessed that fears the Lord. The Lord shall bless thee out of Zion, and thou shalt see the good of Jerusalem all the days of thy life. Yea, thou shalt see thy children's children, even peace, and peace upon Israel. Remember, you were praying for peace? Now we get it. Right? When you trust God, you actually end up seeing peace for you and peace in God's people. It's really a wonderful thing. The Hebrew word that's translated blessed in verse 1 is the same word translated happy in Psalm 127, verse 5 or 6. So one of the definitions for blessed is I'm happy. It's a real simple definition. I'm happy. It is a great word. The Lord said, we'll go back. It said, the Lord, blessed is everyone, so happy is everyone that fears the Lord, that walks in his ways. The other word for blessed is in verses 4 and 5, and it means to bow to, which I think about this a lot. We're going to come to that later. But both words are a family blessing. It is not isolated to individuals, and it is best experienced in family because it's compact together. In other words, the real blessings with God are with God's people. And you say, but I haven't been happy at church in a long time. Well, then start praying for the peace of Jerusalem. Start praying for that peace. And it says, happy is the man, or blessed is everyone that fears the Lord. So this is the idea, and it's also the first word, happy, has the idea of, how many of you know what an interjection is? It's a strongly stated word that emphasizes a feeling. Happy, or wow, or, can you believe this? Blessed is the man. This is kind of thing you go, we used to sing, I'm so happy, here's the reason why. It's an old gospel, old chorus that we sang in youth group. So it says, I am so blessed. And all you did to get that blessing was to, what's the first phrase? You feared the Lord. That means you trusted him. And you walked in his ways. Fear the Lord means, it's a big word, but let's go with its simplest definition, which is you trusted him. You made him the focus of you trusted him. And when he's in charge, you're happy. That is so, I'm glad I heard that, because think of little children. You know, little children really, no matter what they're doing behavior-wise, want to know if mom and dad is in charge. Because if mom and dad are not in charge, they're afraid. Right? So they're testing that. Is mom and dad, do the boundaries hold? And yet they may look like they don't care, but without those boundaries, they're not happy. That's huge. They need those boundaries. So this is a family blessing. It's not isolated. It's part of the group. The blessing is to those who walk in his ways. How many have you heard the way of the Lord phrase over and over again? Anybody have any clue what it means? The Lord's desire. We hear these phrases and we don't know his... Right, we don't. God's ways are not about being moral. Well, now that makes more sense. What is my way? Right? It's either his way or my way. My way is if I don't like you, I punch you. Right? That's not the Lord's way. Actually, I have quit doing that a long time ago. But you follow that. God's ways are going to be completely opposite of my ways. And so God's ways are humility, meekness, love, forgiveness, trust. And if you want to see what that looks like, look at Jesus Christ. He trusted his Father, right? Even at his death, he says, Father, I commend my spirit into your hands. I trust you with my life, right? He said, I always do what my Father tells me to do. So it's a life of humility. He didn't defend himself. That's meekness. Didn't defend himself physically or verbally. Jesus' ways are the Lord's ways. So here it is. The blessing is from God to you. And by the way, if you really get the blessing, it will go through you to other people. If I'm really blessed, I bless other people. The source of the blessing is out of Zion. You know there's a difference between buying something from Walmart and from buying it from Bloomingdale's? Yeah, the price. Yeah, right? But you understand there's a difference about, it's out of Zion. In other words, it's like, I love the price, right? Bloomingdale's, well, Zion. I have access through the blood of Christ, right? It's an incorruptible source. It will never rust. Whatever God blesses me from, it won't die. It says, we won't go there yet. I want to save that verse. So it is a blessing experienced when you trust him. It is a blessing that comes when you walk in his ways. It is a blessing upon what you do. I am not mechanically inclined, mostly because I don't like it and I'm impatient. You ever working on something underneath a car or a bolt and it won't come, you can't get the wrench on it and you're just getting more frustrated? How many times have I worked on something and I finally said, God help me? And it almost immediately got it. Right? It's a blessing upon your labors. It is a blessing upon the fruit of your labors. Right? And it will be well with you. That's what the verse says. I don't know what that, by the way, I don't really know what well with me means. But I do know this. It means that I'll agree with that. This is good. I will say this is good. right? I mean, what did Job say when he lost everything? Yeah, well, he also said this, blessed be the name of the Lord. He's saying it's well with me. That's an incredible statement. And he says, yet will if he slay me, yet will I trust in him, is why it's well with him. You will see the good of Jerusalem. In other words, your community, we are citizens of heaven. Our conversation is in heaven, according to Philippians 3:10. That means the way we live, that community will be blessed. It'll be it's like having your hometown suddenly prosper, right? What's valuable, what's important to you prospers. It is to be blessed in your old age. I was thinking back to Mel Keller yesterday. He's 76, he said. 76 years old, and he is about the happiest 76-year-old I've ever met. Right? He's blessed. It is peace within. It's peace with God. It's peace with family. Boy, that's a tough one. And if you are not experiencing peace, trust God and walk with him more and more. Now, back to the word blessed, the second definition. Verse 1, happiness is a result. If I've trusted God, I end up just being happy. But 128, verse 4 and 5 is an action done to you. The Hebrew word is barak. It means to bless by kneeling down to or bowing down to. So God is saying, I will kneel to you, to serve you. Isn't that backwards? Right? When I say to God, I'm going to bless God, I'm saying to him, I'm either making him happy or I'm going to kneel to him and serve him. But God here is saying, I will bless you. I will kneel to you and serve you. That's overwhelming to me. David says, what is man that you are mindful of him? Why do you pay, Hagar, Abraham's servant that he had, Ishmael, that he had Ishmael by, right? Ishmael. Yeah, he had Ishmael by. Hagar thinks she's going to die, and God comes to her and takes care of her. She says, you see me. I love that phrase. You see me. She was blessed. And it's an action actually done. It's where the policeman pulls you over and you think you're about to get a ticket, and he says, "Can I help you with?" Right? You've got a flat tire, and he offers to help you. Proverbs 10:22 says this, the blessing of the Lord, that is, when the Lord kneels to you, it makes you rich. I've experienced that. And he adds no sorrow with it. So the Lord kneels to me to benefit me. I mean, this Psalm 128 is not a little psalm, is it? This is a big deal. The sorrows and the afflictions that cause the tears are actually part of the blessing. Think about that. The sorrows and tears that brought you to God are actually part of the blessings. Romans 10:28 says we know that all things work together for good. That means those things are part of the process. I've just been reading through 1 Peter, and 1 Peter finishes, it's not in my notes, but go to 1 Peter, last two verses, and I'll read this to you. Yes, I think it's chapter 5. Yeah, and it says this, verse 12. It says, "This letter I have written briefly, exhorting and testifying that this is the true grace of God wherein you stand." Where they're standing, the whole book is about trial. Knowing this, that the trial of your faith is more precious than of gold that perishes. And he's saying, this is the grace of God to you. It's part of the blessing. Isn't that incredible? And God adds no sorrow to it, but he does not add suffering, he allows it. And there's a difference between God adding something and allowing it. Right? Who is the one that adds suffering? Who? Well, yeah, unfortunately, yes, but there's a deeper source than that. Satan. Yeah. So it's from the source of either blessing or cursing are very different, right? Because cursing and blessing are the opposite. And so this difference between add and allow are very big. It's a very big difference. The road to happiness, and we're almost done. The road to happiness, that is to be blessed, is served by God in your affliction. And you won't see the blessing of affliction until you trust. And maybe the easiest way to say that is you go to the dentist and he's offering to do a root canal. And you either live with the pain or you trust him with the pain, right? It's one or the other. The road to happiness, and this is really I'm repeating this, the road to happiness is served by God in and through affliction, and you won't see the blessing of affliction until you trust. Because 1 Peter 5:10, 2 verses before what we just said, says, "But the grace of God of all grace, who hath called us unto his eternal glory by Christ Jesus, after that you have suffered a while." How long does that mean, God? "Make you perfect, establish, strengthen, and settle you." So I want to read the blessing again, and we're going to wrap up. "On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, the Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace." By the way, lift up his countenance, Ahasuerus, when Esther came in and she wasn't sure whether he'd receive her or not, lifted up his countenance upon her and said, "How may I serve you?" Right? "And they shall put my name upon, and give thee peace, and they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will serve them," bow to them. And then this is a phrase that I picked up. And Jane Marczewski was on America's Got Talent. She got a golden buzzer. Because of her health, she was not able to continue, but they called her Nightbird. That was her nickname. And she said, I love this phrase that she said, "You can't wait until life isn't hard anymore before you decide to be happy." And so I looked it up. She was a solid believer in Jesus Christ. And I kind of knew it when I heard her sing, right? My being happy has nothing to do with my circumstances. It has to do with my God. Amen. Lord, I pray that you'd bless this message. I don't know who needed to hear it. We're a small group, but I know I needed to hear it. Help us trust you more in Jesus' name. Amen. Let's stand and sing our closing song.